My name is Tori Smith, and I do reports about the daily trial trafficking operation, which is run in the United States. Today's report is about Indianapolis, and it's called the Indianapolis My Lab Child Trafficking Operation. It's run by DARPA and the CIA, but also the Indiana Governor, the Indiana Attorney General, and the Indiana Attorney General's offices and prosecutors' offices. They're all set up to protect men that rape and murder children. On the 27th of Friday in Indianapolis, 15 children were gang raped and murdered by a group of 57 males, a total of 189 times. Now, the men that participated in this were Indiana Governor Mike Pence, Indiana Attorney General Greg Zoeller, Douglas G. Carter, who's the superintendent of the Indiana State Police, and also 8 other Indiana State Police officers. 14 officers from the Indianapolis Municipal Police Department participated, along with politicians Brian Bosma, Brent Waltz, Mike Braun, Lloyd Arnold, Ryan Mishler, Roderick Bray, Mike Delph, Travis Holdman, Jim Merritt, and then there were 3 CIA agents named Thomas, David, and John, who all live in Indiana, who have a very long history. One of these men, Thomas, has raped well over 200 children, and he's the one that dissolved the corpses of 17 children in his basement in his Indianapolis home by throwing them in a tub and dissolving their bodies with chemicals. For which I am being charged of public nuisance. See, I'm the one who's being charged with public nuisance. Why? Because I complain about men who rape and murder children. In Indiana, that's a horrible thing to do, because most people in Indiana support these men. Most people in Indiana, like the Whitley County prosecutor's office, who's filed the charges against me in the first place. Well, the whole thing was orchestrated by the CIA. But Whitley County prosecutor Matthew J. Rentschler decided about a month ago that he was going to join this child trafficking operation and do everything he could to protect, aid, abet, and support these men who rape and murder children. There were also 10 Army Special Ops men there, CEO Eli Lilly, John Licklider, the CEO of Lucas Oil, his name is Forrest Lucas, and for some reason the CEO of Cargill went to Indianapolis 2 days ago, along with another corporate executive from Cargill. Now, Cargill is a company that, because there's 40 of these locations nationwide, and what they do with the children is they throw them into a tank and put chemicals in them, and then they process their bodies, and then Cargill takes these children's bodies, which have been processed, and then they put them into their meat supply, their hamburger supply, and then they sell it to people. There were 3 sheriffs there, the sheriff of Marion County, sheriff of Posey County, and the sheriff of Lawrence. And 1 Indiana National Guardsman, and then 2 FBI agents who also live in Indiana. And Mike Pence raped 2 more little boys. Most of the time, most of the governor's time is spent raping little boys and killing them. And this was his 53rd child that he murdered. Greg Zoeller, Indiana Attorney General, raped a 5-year-old girl from Brazil. And there were the 15 children that were involved. Child number 1 was a 4-year-old girl from China. She was raped 76 times and murdered by Brent Waltz, who's an Indiana state senator. Child number 2 was a 4-year-old girl from Syria. She was raped 82 times and she was murdered by an FBI agent from Indiana. Child number 3 was a 4-year-old boy from Turkey. He was raped 113 times and he was murdered by Army Special Ops. Child number 4 was a 4-year-old boy from the Ukraine. This child was raped 94 times and he was murdered by Mike Pence. Child number 5 was a 5-year-old girl from China. She was raped 107 times and she was murdered by Cargill CEO David McLennan. Child number 6 is a 5-year-old girl from Brazil. She was raped 114 times and she was murdered by Indiana State Policeman, who I call number 7 because I don't know his name. Child 7 was a 5-year-old girl from China. She was raped 97 times and she was raped by the 2nd Cargill executive. Child number 8 was a 5-year-old boy from Turkey. He was raped 86 times, and he was murdered by Superintendent of Indiana State Police, Douglas G. Carter. Child number 9 is a 5-year-old boy from the Ukraine. He was raped 94 times, and he was murdered by the CIA agent that I just mentioned, Thomas, that has dissolved 17 children in his basement and have flushed them down in the Indianapolis sewer. Child number 10 is a 6-year-old girl from the Ukraine. She was raped 72 times, and she was murdered by the other FBI agent from Indiana. Child number 11 was a 6-year-old girl from Syria. She was raped 68 times, and she was murdered by Eli Lilly CEO John Leiter. Child number 12 was a 7-year-old girl from Brazil. She was raped 119 times total, and she was also murdered by the Indiana State Police, officer number 4 involved. And child number 13 was a 7-year-old boy. He was from China. He was raped 106 times, and he was raped by Army Special Ops. 14, an 8-year-old girl. She was from Turkey. She was raped 126 times, and she was murdered by Indiana State Policeman number 2. And the 15th child was an 8-year-old girl from China, and she was raped 132 times, and she was murdered by an officer from the Indianapolis Municipal Police Department. And I thank you. I think we're moving forward. Something has happened. You know, most people, when they talk to me, they think basically I spend most of my time doing readings and, you know, sitting by the computer or whatever, but that's not the case. Most of my time is dealing with the weapons of the child traffickers, because they try to kill me every day. They try to block me off. They try to do brain damage. They have a variety of weapons. And sometimes, although it has been easier, you know, somewhat compared to what it was a couple of years ago, still I spend anywhere from 3 to 4 to 6 to 8 hours a day dealing with these artificial intelligence units that they send in, and which is, it's quite a fiasco. I mean, I think it was yesterday morning. I count, normally I don't count, but in the first 20 minutes that I was awake, they sent in the temporals 12 times, and all their energy work. And one of the biggest things that they do to people, and well over 14 million people have been infected with viruses by these temporals, because they basically show up, shoot a virus in you, and you know, then go on their merry way. Well, another thing that they're doing is called energy programs and energy overlays. And what they do is, I don't have any idea how it's done, but what happens is, like, for example, if they want to give somebody a cancer of the heart or cancer of the liver or whatever, they'll come in and they'll have the temporal put this energy overlay over a certain part of your body, and usually it swells up and becomes painful right away, and it's only a short matter of time before someone develops cancer or a heart disease or whatever it is that they're doing. And it can be absolutely brutal with these weapons. But what I think, which is one of the hardest things for me to deal with, is how quickly people go to aid, abet, and support and protect these men. Like, for example, here I live in just north of a small town in Indiana called Columbia City, Indiana, and the people here it's almost like they will do absolutely anything to protect men that rape and murder children. I mean, they couldn't care less about the children. All they care about is protecting the men who rape and murder children. And then it's almost like that's the only thing in their lives, period. You know, they really don't care. This group here in Indianapolis, of these 15 children, they were out of a group of 264 children brought in by 3 sources. And this is one of the things that makes me so angry, is because these men are out of control. They're on a power trip, they're egomaniacs, they're war criminals. Virtually all of them are former Nazi officers or Nazi soldiers who worked directly for Adolf Hitler. just reincarnated into new bodies. So you know what? They're criminally insane, and there's nothing we can do to ever stop them from raping and murdering children other than arrest them. But see, the problem with that is people like the Whitley County prosecutor, Matthew J. Rentschler, and the females that work in this office are so vehement about protecting men that rape and murder children that they create such a huge obstacle in the arrest and prosecution of these men, because they just bend over backwards. They'll do anything to protect these men so that they can continue to rape and murder children. And, you know, I don't know how this is going to end. I don't know the future, you know, but unfortunately this continues on here in the state of Indiana, which is a major, major child trafficking state, and also nationwide, 40 locations. And the main ones are Virginia, New Mexico. California has 4 of them, but they're usually fairly quiet. You know, Texas is the other, Washington, D.C. area, Texas, Denver, Colorado, and then along with the ones in New Mexico are the major ones, and then other ones just participate. And I thank you for your prayers. You know, I know there's a couple thousand of us out here who pray for these children. Unfortunately, we're the only ones, because virtually everybody else in America loves to see children gang raped and murdered. And it's really sad that this continues on here. You know, this is Memorial Day weekend. It's really sad that this continues on, this type of behavior, with the support of so many people. Thank you. I hope you have a nice holiday weekend.